Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast. I'm your host, Dale Corpus, a senior transition specialist and real estate expert based in the San Francisco Bay Area. In today's episode, we're diving deep into the future of senior care and aging in place and how technology is completely changing the game. My guest is Neil Tuntinko, the CEO of Connected Home Living, a national leader in remote patient monitoring, RPM, and virtual care services. He also owns and operates an assisted living, and so he brings both tech and hands-on senior care experience to the table. We're going to unpack the innovative ways his company is helping seniors live safely at home using real-time fall detection, remote care coordinators, and smart monitoring that goes far beyond wearables and pull cords. Plus, we'll explore what's driving this wave of aging in place innovation and how families, care teams, and senior living operators can all benefit. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast, where we help families navigate senior living, real estate, and everything in between. Hosted by Senior Transition Specialist Dale Corpus, this show brings you expert insights, real solutions, and stress-free strategies to make senior transitions simple. Ready to dive in? Let's go.
Okay, we're back, everybody. Hey, Neil, I'm glad that you're here on the show. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm just wishing the weather's nicer, but thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Now, can you give us a quick overview of Connected Home Living and your role as CEO?
Yeah. So Connected Home Living, the whole premise of the company is to fill the gap in care in between caregiving or family visits.
Okay.
As you already mentioned, I've been doing this for 25 years. The problem isn't when the caregiver or family members are with the client. The problem with these especially vulnerable clients is when they're by themselves, because that's where we see the falls happening. That's when we see the non-compliant. That's when we see the most lonely and isolated. And so we fill that gap by blending both technology and live 24/7 remote care coordination. So this way, the care continues even though there's only limited caregiving physical visit.
Okay. Now, what inspired you to start Connected Home Living in the first place?
Yeah, so just many of us here in this profession, we start off with one, and then we end up being in this world of senior care. So I live here in Silicon Valley, and just like many folks here, I used to work for companies like Netscape and Yacht. Did that for a little over a decade and a half, but then, it just wasn't our calling. It wasn't my purpose. So back in 2000, for some strange reason, I decided to buy an assisted living building. And I still own it today, going on my 25th year. It's a medium-sized community in Central Valley, the city in Visalia. And that's how I immersed myself in senior care, right? I was both an owner and licensee. And I literally got my hands dirty, if you know what I mean. Anyway, so that's how I learned the hard way how to care for the seniors. And then about 6 or 7 years into the business, I started scratching my head and said to myself, like, man, why is it that these residents are only staying with me 9 months to a year and a half at the average, and they end up moving out? Well, I learned the hard way. Typically, they move in, not because they're volunteering to move into an assisted living community. They're moving in because some kind of a catastrophic event triggered them from moving in. And it's typically because multiple rehospitalization. So by the time they move into my community, they're usually on their third bypass, cerebral bypass, right? They've broken their hip, they have another heart attack, or so they just can't live on their own anymore. And so that's why they need to be in my community. They need more hands-on care, and it's more cost-effective to come with us. But anyway, when they move in, they're bringing in chronic ailments because there's no cure for congestive heart failure or diabetes or pneumonia. And then so we need to take care of their chronic ailments. As an assisted living owner, I don't have nurses working for my staff, but doctor. We're not a skilled nursing community. We're a non-clinical provider. So I started using technology to help me, let's say, capture their vitals. And I want technology to let me know what's normal blood pressure, what's normal weight gain, what's normal, pulse oximeter or glucose reading. Anyway, when my caregivers capturing their vitals, they don't even know what 120/80 means.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was in the beginning, but the technology did. So I started blending technology as part of my care, and also use technology to help identify red flags related to their ailment. And sure enough, when I started capturing this data, I was like, "What? Look at all this information I capture on a daily basis." But it still didn't do me any good because I'm not a clinician. So I started sharing it with the home health agencies who would frequently come into the building. And I'll say, "Hey, nurse, check out this data." Or every time we go to a doctor's appointment, we'll go into the doctor's appointment and say, "Hey, in the last time you saw Mrs. Smith 6 months ago, I've been capturing their vitals every day. Can you make sense out of this?" And they would look at it and say, "Holy smokes, Neil, this is fantastic. I just talked to Mrs. Smith and she said she's doing fantastic. But when I look at your data, I was like, what the heck is this glucose reading looking like a Richter scale?" So they said, "Thank you for this, Neil. Because of this, let me readjust your meds." Wow. Otherwise, I would just keep it the way it is.
Yeah.
Let me readjust their insulin. Oh, also, since you're here, let me instruct your team what to do next to prevent this rehospitalization. So the data allowed us to collaborate much more effectively with the clinical team because we're non-clinical, right? But they were thankful because of the data we supplied them. Now they can say, "Hey, let's do something together," and really, keep them back. So that's how we got into this. I started embedding technology as part of our care to prevent unavoidable rehospitalization. Well, that was my first foray. But then what happened next is that I said, well, this problem it's not just an assisted living problem. This problem also exists in homes, right? So that's what prompted me to connected home living. I started blending technology with private duty care services because they too are having the same identical problem.
Yeah.
When these private duty agencies are caring for these aging parents, they're also dealing with rehospitalization. And then over the years, I started adding other technologies such as fall detection and wellness monitoring, which I can go over in a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. Now there's a lot of innovation around aging in place happening right now. What trends are you most excited about?
Well, the trend is what I'm doing now. So when you look at age tech trends, is what connected home living is doing. Again, it's leveraging patient monitoring. It's leveraging fall detection systems that doesn't require cameras or pendants or pull cords. But some of the other technologies that's exciting me right now, like right now, there's a company called Toy Labs. They're replacing the toilet seat with these optics that are built in these toilet seats.
Okay.
So every time you do number 1 and number 2,
Yeah.
it's capturing it's just astonishing data, right? So there's a lot of information with your urine and your number 2, if you will.
Yeah.
And because of that, you're able to see some pretty amazing data. And anyway, so with that information, we can take some immediate actions. So that's one technology that excites me. There's another company, I can't tell you their name, but they're really developing the tricorder. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Star Trek, but they're developing a system that allows you to scan the body and touching the body, the blood pressure monitor or the pulse oximeter or your heart rate. It's measuring it's capturing all these vitals, just scanning your body.
Yep.
It's truly amazing. There's a lot of technologies that are coming down, and obviously the AIs, there's the big hype, and I see the big need. And we are incorporating that. We've not incorporated, it's already part of our solution. AI is already included in our offering, and I can show you how we're applying that. But yeah, a lot of things that are being invented today, and I'm sure there's a lot more that are coming up that we don't know.
Okay. Now, one of the terms you threw out was the remote patient monitoring. For those that might not be familiar with what that really means, can you just describe that a little bit and how it works?
So remote patient monitoring comes in different shapes and sizes, right? If you look at it, your continuous glucose monitor, the one that you see on your that's taped on your arm, that's a remote patient monitor. It's a system that's getting data remotely and letting us know when things are within or outside of normal range. So that's one form of remote patient monitoring. Our form of RPM, or remote patient monitoring, is that we supply a client either a tablet or an app that gets installed on their smartphone or tablet. And on an ongoing basis, this tablet will ask specific questions about chronic ailment. So pneumonia, congestive heart failure, diabetes, cancer patients, palliative patients. Anyway, so we will tailor it specific to the patient, and it would ask specific questions to help us identify red flags. So as an example, let's say you have congestive heart failure. It'll ask about, say, hey, Dale, is your leg more swollen today than yesterday? How's your breathing? Do you have any dizziness? Obviously, it'll be different for somebody who's diabetic. It's going to ask, hey, do you have any wounds on your toes? How's your vision? Tell me what your glucose reading is. Anyway, we customize the tablet or app on their phone specific to chronic ailment, but we also capture their vitals on an ongoing basis. So if we issue them a scale, the second they step on that scale, we're not just going to measure their actual weight, but more importantly, we're going to measure their weight gain. That's super important. Let's say if you have congestive heart failure, because if you have, let's say, 7-pound weight gain in 3 days, right? That's serious for us in our world. Right? That means you're retaining water. And but most people, so many seniors, they're very diligent about capturing their vitals on a piece of paper, but not knowing that rapid weight gain is much more critical. So that data is sent to my company 24/7, and the second anything outside of normal range, my staff calls 24/7, and will show up on the tablet or on the app, live on video, and we're going to address the issue right there and then. They'll say, "Hey, Dale, you said you had a rapid weight gain," or it says right here you have a rapid weight gain of 7 pounds in 3 days, and also you said that your leg is more swollen today than yesterday. Can I take a picture of your leg and share it with a doctor?" That's one of the things that we do. Or we can say, you know what, this looks really serious. Let me video conference in your nurse, or let me video conference in your doctor, your specialist. So we can triage right there and then while the patient is sitting in their living room in their pajamas.
Okay.
So instead of sending them to the ER, we are addressing the issue right there and then, right? Because typically seniors, when they typically call 911, when guess what? When it's way too late, when it's the point of no return. And when you get in that situation, the likelihood of will be zero.
Okay.
And that's why home care agencies love us. Home health, skilled nursing, and hospitals like El Camino use us on a daily basis.
Got it. Now, what makes your approach or technology different from other remote patient monitoring companies?
So because of the human element, I think it helps because I have a background in caring for the seniors.
Okay.
Normally with some vendors out there, when they have an RPM, they just hand out the RPM and they hope that the client will use it on an ongoing basis. But we learned the hard way, because we've been doing this now close to 10 years, that just because they have a telehealth or RPM in front of them, it doesn't mean they're going to use it every day. We see actually a drop off of utilization after about a week and a half, because they said, what point is this? Yeah. But boy, when you couple that with a remote care coordinator, if you don't answer that survey question, it's going to send an alert to that RCC, remote care coordinator. We're going to talk to them live on video, right? And say, hey, is everything going? Is everything wrong? Anyway, so there's going to be a live person that's going to be attached to them to coach them, to motivate them to continue to use the system. But they're also there, these remote care coordinators, when they call in and not just respond to the red alerts as an example, they're there to also fill what we call social determinants of health. Because there's these factors that also lead to rehospitalization that are often ignored. Like, for instance, they're running out of medication. We'll ask them, we're going to get on a video call and say, hey, did you take your meds? Oh, I didn't. Well, why not? Oh, because I ran out of meds. Okay, for other companies out there, okay, well, too bad for you, right? No, for our company, no. We're going to make sure we get that, or we're going to call the doctor, and we're going to make sure that medication's filled. Or let's just say, hey, Mr. Smith, do you have any upcoming doctor's appointment? So they say, yeah, it's next week, Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not just going to remind them on Tuesday morning to get ready for their appointment, but we're going to make sure that they have appointments to and from the appointment, because that's how many appointments are missed, because they don't have the ride or transport to get. But anyway, those are an example of social determinants that are often ignored, and we fill that gap. We make sure that those are filled, because those remote caregivers, their main job is to prevent rehospitalization.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit more about those remote care coordinators. I'm more intrigued. Are they 24 hours? What are they? How crucial are they as part of your business model?
That's the thing. I think because I come from, again, a caregiving background, and that human element is really our secret sauce. And
Okay.
I'll admit to you. And we just use the RPM or the fall detection to gather the data. It's what you do with that data. That's, in my opinion, it's more important. People are going to get these alerts left and right all day long. But what are you going to do with that alert? That remote care coordinator is to be the one who's going to do it. Because you see a lot of these self-help app out there. And what we learned the hard way, these families will look at it, but they'll look at it when it's convenient for them. So let's say, oh, mom's got a adrenaline level for her blood pressure. I'll get to it when I can get to it. Or maybe they're sleeping between 8 to 10, 5 a.m.
Okay.
What happens if the fall happens in the middle of the night, right? And so who's going to respond to that alert immediately? So anyway, so those remote care coordinators assigned to those clients or patients, their job is to respond to those alerts immediately, but take action on those alerts. And so they're not just there to deal with that, but they're also there to be their companion, to be their friend. And that's one of the reasons why many clients use our service for years, because these virtual caregivers or caregivers end up becoming their friends, going there between 8 to, let's say, 1 p.m. in the afternoon.
Okay.
And while they're there, they're going to do all these physical stuff, like, getting them out of bed, preparing their meals, managing their medication, maybe taking them to an appointment, doing those 5 hours. But once they clock out, now the worry begins. Right? What Comfort Care has been, they've been bundling our services to complement their physical care. So this way, once that caregiver leaves the premises, the client's not by themselves. We're filling that gap of care in between their caregiving visits. So in between their visits, that remote care coordinator will be checking in. We can check in during some scheduled time. It could be multiple times in a day, or it could be once a day. Anyway, we'll work alongside with the home care agency and their family. So this way, we're making sure that loved one's safe. So I'll give you one example. They typically use our remote care coordinators to check in with the loved one, let's say right around 7 o'clock at night, right before they go to bed, right? So when we call in, and we'll say, let's pretend you're the client. Hey, Dale, it's me, your remote care coordinator. How was your day today? Did you have your kids visiting you? How did that go? And how's the little dog Fifi? Are you treating them okay? Anyway, so the first thing we do is we want to be their buddy, be their companion, because that's how we build the trust. But right before we hang up the phone, we're going to go through our list. Okay, Dale, you left the stove on 3 times already. I'm going to stay here on the video until you turn up the stove. All right? Great. Fantastic. Okay, now I want to make sure Fifi's inside the house. Right? So let's make sure Fifi's inside the house, because I don't want you getting up in the middle of the night again and falling on the way to the living room like last time. So I'm going to stay here on the call until Fifi's inside the house. And while you're at it, let's lock all the doors. Click, 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 click. Right? And it says right here, Dale, you have a doctor's appointment tomorrow morning, and you can't eat past 9 p.m. because you have to fast because of blood work.
Yeah.
Did you better put away that Snicker bar. I don't want you, eating that past 9 p.m. because that's going to screw your blood work. Anyway, we're there as a virtual caregiver, if you will, right?
Yeah.
We're filling in that gap because there's nobody there other than the loved one who prefers to live alone by themselves typically, right? So we're providing that extension of care for that home care agency or that family member So this way, all that burden is not resting on that adult children, as an example.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. And is that remote care coordinator, for the most part, is it the same person that sticks with the client, the entire duration or whatnot, or do you rotate remote care coordinators with the client?
Excellent question. Yeah, I wish it's legal to employ that one remote care coordinator 24/7, 365 days a year. Yeah, so they work in 3 8-hour shifts. Right?
Okay, got it.
And but they work as a team, and they typically see the same remote care coordinator over and over again. And that's how we build rapport. And that's why when that tablet rings, they know it's Maribel, or they know it's Marcy or Montana. And in fact, Montana's checking in, and they know it's not a solicitor because the tablet or the app that we have, it'll have its own unique ringtone.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a spam call.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That clarifies my question. Now, what is real-time fall detection, and why is that so significant for families and care teams?
Great question. So I learned the hard way again as a caregiver, right? As an assisted living owner, I thought, okay, I've got these pull cords all over my building. I got 4 in each wall in each unit. I got 2 in each bathroom. And in my, do they ever fall next to the pull cord? Never. It's always too far away. So pull cords right away didn't work. And then the next thing I knew is, all right, well, I got residents moving in with the little pendants around their neck. Yeah. That should be okay, right?
Right.
No, I learned the hard way. As soon as they walk in their bedroom, they take it right off because they don't want to choke in their neck when they're sleeping, right? Or when they take a shower. Who wears a wearable? Do you wear your watch when you're taking a shower? No. Do you wear a pendant, or do you have a pendant wearing around your neck when you're taking a shower? No. Well, guess where all the falls happen, or guess where 80% of the falls happen? In the bathroom. Right, so that's number one problem. In fact, the other problem with these wearables is that they have what we call an accelerometer. Mm-hmm. It does a great job identifying your fall if you're falling like a tree based on your rate of acceleration. But if you're in the world of caregiving, most falls happen when they slide off the bed or wheelchair or the recliner, right? Yeah. And so during those slow falls, it does a poor job identifying the fall. In fact, every time I see a client, I would ask him, "Hey, Mrs. Smith, can I borrow your pendant? Let me put it around my neck real quickly." And I would sit on the floor, and I would wait for an alert. It would never show up. So that's why you see a lot of folks on the ground for hours. In fact, there was a recent news about Gene Hackman, right? They found his body, guess what, 2 weeks later, right? So for us, we're not fans of pendants because we learned the hard way. And then lastly, cameras. I tried using cameras, and I started using cameras in my assisted living community. And the second I put one in the bathroom, guess what they told me? What? No, they better not put a camera in the bathroom while my mom's taking a shower. So cameras were a big no. In fact, there's new cameras nowadays with smart fall detection. I even told them, look, I have a fall detection camera. It won't even see your mom's body. It's a camera. So I couldn't get him to do it unless we install it in a memory care unit. Yeah. Right? Then they'll be okay because they don't even know it's a camera. But if it's somebody who still has it up there, they're going to see that's a camera. And so anyway, so that's why we abandoned that. And this approach, we with a fall detection disc.
Got it.
So this disc is probably one of the most advanced fall detection in the market. And when it's plugged to the wall or up on the ceiling and connected to the internet, it sends out 4D radar signals. And when it comes back to us, we see a bunch of dots that makes up the shape of the person. We can see their head. We can see the shoulders and leg. We can see them moving around. It's just like the movie Predator. I'm not sure if you've ever seen the movie Predator. You can see the silhouette of the person. You can see them moving live. With the AI that's built in the system, it knows that it's sitting on a chair or laying on the bed. But more importantly, when it sees the person on the ground, there's a little light that starts to blink here on it'll say, somebody's on the floor, so I'm going to look at this person for the next minute and a half because maybe they're doing sit-ups or maybe they're tying their shoes. So if they still don't get up, I'm going to start to beep, and it'll go beep, 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 beep for another minute and a half. Just to forewarn that subject, you better get up or else I'm going to call for help. And if they still don't get up, then it calls our company 24/7. We first call the house. If they don't answer, we call the emergency contacts, and that emergency contacts could be, let's say, 10 lists long.
Yeah.
If nobody answers, we call 911. And right now, I look at the logs in our system. I see falls in the bedroom. I see falls in the bathroom and every day, right? And then we have one client up in Livermore. She went from 24-hour care down to 12 hours because she was running out of money. And they figured in their head, well, why should I hire a caregiver in the middle of the night when they're sleeping? So they said, I'm not going to hire a caregiver in the middle of the night. So I'm going to just install this. They have 9 of this all across their home. And sure enough, yesterday, she fell right in the right in the bedroom. And she couldn't get up, and she fell right around 1:40 a.m.
Okay.
If we didn't connect with the adult children to pick up the call at 1:42 a.m., that client would have been on the ground till 9 a.m. in the following morning. She fell at 1:40, right? We called and got help for her at 1:42.
Wow.
And then the adult children showed up. Otherwise, mom would be on the ground till 9 a.m. But can you imagine if she had a stroke or a heart attack or she bumped her head, now she's bleeding? Can you wait 30 minutes? Can you wait 1 hour? But again, some of these folks are on the ground for hours, if not days. And again, with Gene Hackman, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
In our situation, within seconds. Again, without a wearable. Actually, this lady had a wearable too. She had a wearable. But guess where it was? On top of the dresser.
Oh.
So that's why for us, the hard way we learn is the more effective way.
Okay. Now, what kinds of behaviors beyond falls are you able to monitor? Like wandering or behavioral changes, stuff like that?
Yeah. So we use another, there's a solution, what we call fast monitor. We use your traditional motion sensors and door sensors. And we even have these, what we call panic buttons, where we can put on the, maybe right next to the recliner or on top of the dresser next to their bed. But anyway, these are all integrated together through this smart hub.
Okay.
When you place this motion sensor, let's say in the living room, the kitchen, and the dining room, and you put these sensors on the front door and the back door, when the client goes about their day, the smart hub records their patterns and behavior. Because what we learn through years of caring for the seniors, they tend to do the same thing over and over again, right? They're creatures of habits. And so what we also learn that once they sway from that routine, there's always something wrong. Right? So an example and I always like to give is a real life client of ours. Her routine is 6:30 a.m., making breakfast and reading her newspaper and petting her dog. But on this one particular day, there was no motion in the kitchen, but it was almost noon and she's still in bed. There's something wrong. And that's what triggered the alert. Through machine learning, it let us know that she just broke her routine and notified our remote care coordinators to prompt the client for a call. So sure enough, when we called the client, there she was, like, I'm not feeling too well. I'm feeling nauseous. I'm feeling, I feel like I want to throw up. So we told her not to get up. We called the home care agency. They showed up sooner than later. And we attended her situation and prevented a potential rehospitalization. But what we learned that she was having some allergic reaction to her new medication. And we shared that with the physician, and the physician was very thankful. Sure enough, they reissued another medication, and that same caregiver picked up that new med that same day, right? It all got triggered because of this monitor. But with the same monitoring system, we help identify elopement. So we have a client in North Carolina. She was living in a little bungalow in this independent living community. So she's living by herself, right? And on this one particular night, the door was wide open. at right around 2:30 a.m. in the morning, when she's normally sleeping between 8 to 4 a.m., right? And then when that door opened and there was no more motion inside the house, that for us is an elopement alert. We called the house, no answer. Then we called the adult children. They showed up 15 minutes later, and there she was. Their mom was on a robe, waiting for the bus to show up because they thought it's time for church, right? So she was, the fear that the adult children had finally came true, because thanks to the system, we were able to identify that super early on and got the help that she needed. Because it was, it was cold that night.
Yeah. Wow, your system can do a lot, it seems like. Now, how do you ensure the monitoring doesn't feel too invasive, though, for the senior?
Good question. Yeah, so the generation of seniors today, they're still non-tech savvy, and
Right.
a lot of them are very petrified with technology.
Yeah.
And so you have to approach it, based on the residents' willingness to accept technology and ability to use technology.
Right.
So starting with the telehealth, right? We're not going to shove the telehealth down their throat if they don't even know how to use a TV remote. And so in those type of patients, we usually start off with a phone call. It's like, hey, Mrs. Smith, hey, you're now part of our program. And my job here is to make sure you don't go back to the hospital, because I don't want you moving out of your home, because I know you said, I want to die in my home. And so I'm going to help you with that. But we need to work as a team. So I'm going to need some data from you. So let's start the program by me asking you, hey, is your leg more swollen today than yesterday? Like, oh, it's not. And the remote care coordinator will just manually input that data into the system. Let's go step on the scale. What is that reading telling you? Oh, okay, you're at 120. Okay, yesterday you're at 119. Okay, let me record that.
Yeah.
So we start off with just a phone call program. In fact, that's what we like to do. And then over time, once we build that rapport, it's like, hey, like we have one client, she's now being proud about her weight loss.
Yeah.
Oh man, I sure would like to see what you look like now, right? So let's install that app on your phone. It's really easy. So just click on this link that I'm going to send to you. And once they click on that link, they've installed the app. And then now that it's installed, I'm going to call you now on your phone through video. So the phone rings and boop, now they see us live on video. That's our entryway into now introducing them into more techie, if you will, right? And then now that they're comfortable with the video calling, hey, you're going to see this question pop up on your screen. Just answer that, Is your leg more swollen today? No. Is your dizziness? No, So now they're inputting the data. Now they're interacting with the information. But once it's part of the routine, it becomes second nature, and now they become more intimidated. Does that make sense?
That does.
Again,
You're building trust. Build baby steps. You're building trust along the way.
Yeah, because these technology providers, just because they invented something really cool, here you go. Here's your technology. Go use it. No, our experience again, being doing this for 25 years, they're not going to be like that in the beginning. You have to ease them in. In fact, with the fall detection like this, when we explain to them, it's like, oh my God, what is that? It's so. The way we explain it, it's like we would tell them again, do you have a light sensor, automatic light sensor in your kitchen? Yeah, I do. Well, it's exactly like it, but instead of turning on the light when you're moving around, this thing just identifies you just like a light sensor when you fall on the ground. So they understand that concept of, this light's being triggered because of my movement. This thing is also being triggered because of me falling. So they can kind of correlate that. Or we'll say, just like your smoke alarm, when it smells smoke, it's going to trigger an alert. Well, it's kind of the same thing with this one, right? When you fall, it's going to trigger an alert. Okay. And then they'll go, no, okay, then that's cool. Can I have that in all my room then? Yeah. So it's all the way you approach and explain it. Because you're not going to say, I have this 4D radar signal that's going to come back with your image. Or you don't explain it that way, right? Yeah. You have to simplify it in a way where it doesn't sound intimidating.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense. Now, I want to segue more into your technology's impact on families and care teams. Now, what kind of feedback are you getting from family members using your system?
Right. I would say every time we respond to the alert, they're always say, "We're so grateful that basically you saved my mom's life," right?
Yeah.
So that's one. And but they really like our remote care coordinators, right? And so because many of these seniors are lonely and isolated,
Mhm.
right? And
Right.
I don't want to blame too much to the family members, but after a while, the family members hear the same story over and over again, right? And they get a little tired of of hearing that. And so that remote care coordinator uh, becomes that trusted advisor. They
Right.
become their friends. In fact, that's why they stick with our service for a long time. Is because wait, don't take away my telehealth, because if you take away my telehealth, you're taking away Maribel, you're taking away my
Yeah.
remote care coordinator, my friend, and that's how we drive stickiness. See, we become friends with them,
Yeah.
right? And so, but we also have the what the most common we get are typically from the adult children, right? Because we're
Yeah.
removing that burden away from them, because they I mean, you hearing it, they're part of the sandwich generation, right?
Right.
They have a career, they have their family life that they have to deal with. Now they have to attend to their aging loved ones. It becomes overwhelming, right? And it rests typically in the adult daughter, right? And you can tell, there's patches missing in their hair because they're at wits end about managing their whole life. So when we alleviate that part of their life, uh, about their aging loved one, they're very thankful. In fact, my mother's on the virtual caregiving program. I would often talk to her. It's like, "Hey, mom, how you doing?" And then maybe 15 minutes later, I would get a call from the remote care coordinator and say, "Hey, Neil, I just want to let you know I just spoke with your mom, and she's got this sore on her left shoulder." Wait a second. I just talked to my mom, and she never mentioned about her left shoulder. "Oh yeah, she told me that because she doesn't want to burden you, because you're very busy.
Interesting.
You're dealing with your family and blah blah blah, and so she don't want to be a burden to anyone." But both, she'll spill her guts out to her remote care coordinator, because she knows that remote care coordinator her job is to keep her away from the hospital. So
Oh,
I'm thankful that my mom is on the virtual caregiving program.
yeah.
Okay.
No, good. It's like you're experiencing the services firsthand, and it's just like I love that you trust it enough. I mean, for your own mother, for that matter, and it's working. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Another question: how do your services support professional caregivers or senior living operators?
Yeah. So we're when we market connected home living, we don't deal with the consumers directly. We purposely built a B2B to C company. So what we've done is we've taken the solutions that I just, we created a package out of that, and we basically sell it as a subscription to the home care agency, to the senior living communities, the home health agencies, to hospitals like El Camino, right?
Yep.
So they're actually reselling our services on our behalf, but we're white labeling it as if it's part of their company. So Comfort Care is one of them. So Comfort Care is one of our partners, and so when they sell our services, they're bundling it in as part of their physical care, because they know majority of their clients cannot afford 24-hour care. But when they wrap in connected home living as part of their home care services, now they're providing 24-hour care, but without the same costs as a 24-hour living costs. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So El Camino Hospitals, another big client of ours, they have a problem with rehospitalization, because a lot of their patients who are discharged, they come right back to the hospital within 30 days, and the hospital gets penalized because of this. And so since 2018, El Camino has been using our telehealth services. So when the patient leaves the hospital, they assign our telehealth system to their patients. But they don't call it connected home living. They call it the El Camino telemonitoring program.
Okay.
but it's us, right? For senior living communities, we're getting a lot more calls because they know those pull cords and those wearables are ineffective. And guess what they're putting? They're putting this in place of the pull cords. We're seeing them being placed up on the ceiling. They're all up on the wall. And now they're getting less in trouble, right? Because they do get in trouble with those pull cords because, again, they're too far away. And they get in trouble with those pendants because, or their smartwatches that we see nowadays because they don't like to have it on. With this, they just need a fall. And we find a problem. But also with senior living communities, they like it because there's somebody checking in a sense, with their client 24/7. Because I know in my assisted living community, we do rounds, especially at night, in the middle of the night, right? We do rounds every hour.
Yeah.
And so, we'll do the rounds and we'll try to listen in to see if we can hear any screaming. If by chance something is wrong. This is before we had the fall detection. We would listen in to see we can hear any screams. But here in California now, they're allowed to lock the doors, so we can't even go inside the door. We can't even open the door, and we're hoping we can hear some noises, while sticking our ear next to the door, and it's gotten us in trouble because before we installed the fall detection in my assisted living community, the only time when we would know that they've fallen is if they don't show up for breakfast. Or show up for dinner, right? They should be sitting on that chair in that dining room table, but after let's say 30 minutes or an hour, it's like, how come she's still not sitting there? Well, I better go inside her room to see what's going on. And sure enough, we open the door, sometimes they're not alive, right?
Yeah.
And that's just for me, it wasn't acceptable, right? And so now with the fall detection, we know obviously there's a fall, but we also know if there's activity or lack of activity inside the room as well. So we're getting a lot more intelligence, so we can avoid these situations that could obviously spell trouble.
Very good. I'm very good. Now, what do you think senior care will look like in the next 5 to 10 years with the help of technology like this?
Yeah, so I see AI becoming more and more prevalent, right? Every event that I go to, AI is somehow is becoming more prevalent, and I can't wait to be more. In fact, we use the technology we have now has AI, right?
Okay.
So with that wellness monitoring, the AI that's built in there, it knows their patterns of behavior, and once they sway from that pattern, we triggers an alert. The AI that's built in this fall detection system, let's say the client has fallen, but they got up before it triggered an escalation. The system still counts that as a fall, and it tracks the fall and trends that fall and lets us know, hey, they're falling more often now than before. AI is built in there, right, which is really cool. So AI is becoming more and more prevalent. But yeah, and based on what I'm reading nowadays, I'm seeing more predictive analysis through AI. So I can't wait when they take all this data, the fall detection data, the data coming from the telehealth, the data coming from their DNA, the data coming from their records coming from data coming from, let's say, Medicare records and stuff like that,
Right.
and create some kind of score for each resident and telegraph, when the potential trouble will be coming. For us, we can see things today within maybe a day or two or a week from now, but wouldn't it be great if we had the data, like let's say months in advance or maybe even years in advance, so we can do something about it way early on before it even rear its ugly head, right? Yeah, so we can do about it now, years before it happens, as opposed to when it's too late, when you're on their way to the ER.
Yeah.
Right. So
Now,
AI is going to be prevalent.
On a related note, what's next for connected home living Any big innovations or expansions on the horizon?
Yeah. So right now I wish I could tell you the problem that we're solving today is a U.S. problem.
Uh-huh.
No, it's not a U.S. problem. This is a global problem. Right? And so, yeah, I can see the need for a solution, and that's why we're now in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
But now now we have companies inquiring to expand outside the United States because they feel, again, we're filling that gap in care, right?
Yeah.
And also we're starting to get calls before they even need physical care, right? People are, they're calling these agencies now. It's like, hey, I'm not quite ready yet for somebody to come to my mom's house because I haven't told her that she's going to need physical help,
Yeah.
right? Some family members are still don't have that awkward conversation with their parent, or hey, mom, or they want to move them to an assisted living community, and so they're calling us because, hey, let's start off with something inexpensive, really friendly and effective. Let's start them off with connected home living first before they start needing that physical care,
Yeah.
right? So we feel that we're going to fill that, our solution fills that gap before they're starting to need more of those type of assistance.
Yeah. Nice.
So, yeah.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
expanding beyond the United States. Well, first I'm trying to get to all the states. Right now we're only in 33 states today. I'm
Mm-hmm.
trying to fill all 50 states, and then now, but the next step is to go after the neighboring countries.
Yeah. Now, what's the most rewarding part of seeing this technology in action?
The most rewarding piece again is the thank you that we get from from intervening when they're showing signs of trouble. Right, that for me is very rewarding. The fact that there's so many seniors out there with various budgets, right, and so I'm glad that we're providing a service. Let's say the cost, let's say for the cost of one day of, actually not even one day, let's say for the cost of 4 hours of care
Yeah.
on a given month, you get my whole entire system 24/7, uh 24/7 for a full month. That's how inexpensive our service is.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
So yeah, anyway. So yeah. So the other, yeah, that's, and then, we're all always building, testimonials. And so, it's just for me, it's almost like a mini podcast, but you're having real clients telling you how game changing our solution is. And, for me, that's also the equal reward.
Okay. What advice do you have for families who are trying to balance tech with hands-on care?
Balance it with hands-on care. What advice? The advice that I would tell them is that that the solution that can solve the problem now does exist, and it's been existing here for quite some time. And a lot of folks out there, they have a feeling that there's a solution that's out there. And my advice is, to reach out to partners like we have here in the Bay Area. So some of the partners we have here in the Bay Area are partners like Comfort Care, Help and Care, Caring Hands, and we have more agencies, but those are the ones that I can take the top of my head. Anyway, there's a lot of providers out there that are just already wrapping it in as part of their care, and so or obviously they can call us and we can tell them how to subscribe and who to subscribe it from.
Yeah. Okay. And what's something most people don't know about remote patient monitoring that you wish they did?
What do they know about that they wish they did? What do they that the system is that they can get help 24/7 at the comfort of their home, right? So a lot of people who use the RPM are just, they're just capturing vitals, they're asking questions about chronic ailments. But what separates us from those other RPMs is that, hey, when those alerts are triggered, we have the ability to bridge in those clinical providers 24/7. So if they're working with, let's say, a home health agency, we can triage them to join our video call if necessary. Or we're seeing a lot more concierge physicians that are also using our remote patient monitoring system. In fact, some of them are using it to substitute those follow-up visits. And because we have a lot of clients that have difficulty leaving their homes, especially if they have, let's say, Parkinson's or ALS. To move somebody with that type of condition, it takes a lot of effort to get them out of their home into those clinics. But now those visits can now be rendered through our telehealth. So without having to move that client, the doctor can see them right there and be able to have their doctor's appointments right there and then. So yeah. So if they want, we have our own clinical staff as well. So if they want, they can utilize our nurses, our doctors, and also we even have pharmacists as part of our team. So we could really try to make it convenient for them.
Yeah. I know we covered a lot, and I just want to double check. Is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't ask yet? Is there anything you wanted to say that you haven't said yet?
Yeah, we covered quite a bit. I think my biggest problem, I'll be honest with you, is that not enough people know about us, and that's why I'm trying to raise capital to help scale the company. And but once we have more staff and more marketing dollars to get the word out, I think the word about us will become more prevalent. But yeah, if they have any questions, I'm sure you're going to leave my phone number, a website, my email address, and I'm happy to converse with them and let them know more about who we are and what we do.
Yeah, speaking of which, I'll go ahead on the show notes if somebody's watching on YouTube have that information. But for those that are just listening to the audio version, can you just say what the best way to reach you out would be, whether it's phone number or email address?
Yeah. So our website is www.connectedhomeliving.com. Our phone number, our 800 number is 800-759-8511. But they can also call my mobile phone, which is at 408-634-5111. That's my direct line. And my email address is Neil, Neil, at connectedhomeliving.com.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Neil. So Neil, again, thanks for joining me and sharing your insight on how technology is transforming senior care. It's clear that your work is not only innovative, it's impactful, empowering families, and improving the quality of life for older adults. And for those of you watching, if your loved one is considering senior living and you need to figure out to do with their home, let's talk. Schedule a free consultation with me by clicking on the Calendly link located in the video description box for this episode on YouTube. You can learn more about my services on www.simplifyseniortransitions.com. Have a quick question, DM me on Instagram at SoldByDale. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might need this information. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks again, Neil, for being on this show. And I'll see you all in the next episode of the Simplify Senior Transitions podcast.